Dr. Burgess, appreciate both the chair and the members of this committee. Can't echo enough. Rules keeps us functioning, and applaud the late nights that you have been here to make sure that we have the ability to move legislation to the floor. I'm bringing forth two amendments on House Resolution 4664. The first is coming from the Financial Services General Government Appropriation Act, Cybersecurity Amendment number 172 and 167. As we lead this amendment, I wanted to reach out to real experts in the field here, and we reached out to Representative Garbarino, who's leading the subcommittee on cybersecurity, as well as Representative Norman here on the Rules Committee, to thank them both for being partners in moving this amendment forward. Specifically, it's working on the SEC's use of funding for appropriations bill on cybersecurity risk management, strategy, governance, and incident disclosure. Now, my background prior to coming to Congress about 10 months ago, I served as the National Counterintelligence Officer for Cyber. I know very acutely the pain that any company or business or small community may feel from a cybersecurity attack. It's important that we provide that information in a way that can be used by both the Department of Justice, our intelligence agencies, and the Department of Homeland Security to secure us from a cybersecurity attack. What we don't want to have is an SEC chairman who develops a rule that requires certain information be provided within 4 working days that could potentially compromise not only an investigation if it's something done domestically, but could absolutely share best practices, or in this case, worst practices with our adversaries to quickly infiltrate, exploit, and perhaps destabilize our major public businesses. While I understand the SEC's intent may be to standardize disclosure, the reality is that there are a number of agencies that are already working in this. In fact, it's dangerous that these disclosure rules would compromise the confidentiality of the company's cybersecurity program itself, which harms the protected investors and ultimately Americans like you and me every day. Moreover, the SEC cybersecurity disclosure requirements are in direct conflict with what this body, Congress, has already mandated through the Cyber Incident Reporting of Critical Infrastructure Act of 2020. This CIRCA, along with the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISRA, provides the ability for us to harmonize against overreach by the federal government. There is nothing worse than being in the private sector, or even being in the government sector, and having multiple requirements to have to meet. Often they're in conflict, or they're dangerously set apart with a lack of transparency by our federal government. And despite this congressional mandate, SE Chairman Gensler's final rule diverges the intent of Congress, and it's done without coordination of CISA, which I believe is truly dangerous. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I believe it's abundantly clear that our nation must increase its cybersecurity resilience across the board. We must work with our partners in respect of critical infrastructure, and we must make sure that what Congress has set out as the agenda is not dismantled, divested, or perhaps dangerously disabused by one agency deciding to go its own path without the rest of government being part of that solution. On the second amendment, I'll just state briefly here, I'm proud to co-lead this with Ann Wagner, who is our Capital Markets Subcommittee Chair. It would prohibit the SEC from using funds approved by the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, the PCAB, along with non-compliance with laws and regulations proposal. This proposal, as currently written, is excessively burdensome, particularly to small public firms in my home state of Iowa, a financial sleeper cell, but nonetheless a powerhouse when it comes to being able to compete with some of those big New York City companies. Because it would increase compliance costs for businesses that are already subject to highly complex and technical laws and regulations. In fact, under this proposal, companies would be required to hire several additional auditors to proactively investigate any potential violation, determine whether it's material or not. Simply put, let's not make our auditors into full-time attorneys and let them do their job for our small businesses to be successful. This should be expected to function they should not be expected to function as a law enforcement agency, but rather sole attention and dedication to rigorously evaluating our financial statements. Given the harmful consequences of the SEC's cyber disclosure rulemaking and PCAB's proposal, I'm proud to offer these two amendments, and I would ask for this to be a bipartisan solution in helping everyday Americans. Thank you, Mr. Chair.